Welcome inside the bullpen, brought to you by Hilltop Office Supplies. Eric Ballnar, Michael Dunn with you inside the little booth we got here. All our sponsors displayed proudly in the backwards. Dunny, how's it going? How's your week?
It's been great. I mean, you know, it seems like we finish one week and we're straight into the next one. So we've got a big show ahead tonight.
We got a cool one.
We're looking forward to that, and I hope everyone at home enjoys what we've got on, and they get some facts about what's been going on around the place in the last 3 or 4 weeks or 6 weeks maybe that we can put some rumours to bed.
Yeah, Glenn Williams, the CEO, former big leaguer, back-to-back weeks with a big leaguer on the show.
Flying on
We're
the show.
so good. We're so good. And Michael Dunn on the show every week, the real Adelaide SA big leaguer. But Glenn Williams, the CEO of Baseball Australia, he chatted to me for about 20 minutes, which we have on record for everybody to see. And I just flat out asked him, why did the season get canceled? And we can hear what Will had to say.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, that's what people want to know at home. They want to know what's going on and how it all sort of came about and what's happening with Baseball Australia, and Willow will give us the updates.
Good dude, though, Willow.
Fantastic. Yeah, he's a good dude. I played in an Australian team with him.
Yeah, good dude. He loves baseball.
Yeah,
my goodness.
Well,
let's before we get to that, let's do a quick around the diamonds here. Let's start with the Hilltop headlines from all the Division Gr8 state leagues, both men and women. We'll start with the men. Dunny, what caught your eye over the weekend?
Yeah, so there was a few things that I picked up on the weekend. With Newborn back, you know, ABL player, obviously Rookie of the Year last year in the ABL. So he goes 1 for 4 with a 3-run home run, which is good for him. I mean, he's that sort of guy that could easily, you know, plays now with no ABL. He's a big contender to win the Caps medal if he can keep hitting and he can keep pitching. In their 11-5 win over Port. So, and he had some. Like, he had 3 or 4 innings with 4 or 5 punch-outs.
Yeah,
as well.
There's his numbers on the screen right there.
Yeah, so there he had some
5K.
5Ks. I mean, that's a day out, and that's a 3 votes in a game, right, for your Caps medal vote. So, and if you're a two-way guy, you're really going to get those sort of information. So
yeah, because I think in that game, West Torrens were up early. They put Newborn had that big shot early in the game, but Port just kept clawing their way back. Brody Areola was 4 for 4, coming in late to just stop the momentum. A huge thing for a pitcher. Yeah,
it's great, and I mean, it's great to see some of the ABL guys playing really well at club ball level, which they should do. But it's nice to see them getting amongst it and getting some confidence up during the SABL season.
So some controversy, though, around the league. I know we were talking about this. You'll see the standings later on. East Torrens thought they had moved to 3-1. They had beat Southern Districts 5-2, but maybe not the case, I'm hearing.
No, we believe that that has been turned over, that game, that East Torrens went over their pitch count limits, and the Southern Districts team processed it against that, and I believe that's been upheld. So
that's huge.
Southern Districts win that game 9-0.
Right. So East Torrens and Southern Districts were 2 teams in our season preview that we had pegged kind of in that 6 to 10 range, or the 5 to 10 range. Like we could see them finishing as high as 4th, 5th, as low as 10th. That's a 4-point swing right there.
It is a 4-point swing, and I mean, East Torrens have got a pretty good side, and you know, late in the year, if it gets a little bit tight, you don't want it to go back on something like that. That maybe you're right on that edge of 6th, 7th, and it could be very interesting. I think they've got a decent enough side that they probably don't get in that situation, but we need to keep an eye on what's going on with the numbers and make sure we're in control of that, so this sort of stuff doesn't happen.
On the pitching side of things, I know Fitzy kept doing his thing.
High 80s, low 90s, and at club ball level, that's a bit tough for a few guys. And he had another big weekend on the weekend with another 12 punch-outs.
12 punch-outs. Look at that leaderboard, where he's at on the strikeout leaderboard.
So he's already 10, 4 games in?
Yeah, and Fitzy's on fire.
Yeah. And I probably, to Fitzy's credit as well, I don't think he probably throws as many innings as AJ does either. So his numbers are probably equivalent to what AJ's doing on the innings side of things. So those guys are just lights out. Rue's only just started back throwing again, but he's a big dude that is always going to strike guys out. He's a pretty scary thought standing up there at 6'6".
How's the ERA leader on that board right there? Sebastian Heinz-Unger, the youngster, has not allowed an earned run in 9 1/3 innings pitched.
And that's great. I mean, that's great for a kid to do that. He came out and played a game with us in the Super League for the Marlins and got in a bit of trouble and got himself out of trouble. So he's another one of those guys we want to keep an eye on for the next 3 or 4 weeks at this level as well to see what he can do and put him through the paces.
Take a look at the standings right here. At the top of the leaderboard, 2 undefeated teams remain. West Torrens, 3-0. Kensington, 3-0. I can't wait till those teams meet each other at some point down the line. Both look dangerous. But there's that notable thing on the standings. They've gone away in a second here, but East Torrens actually now down to 4 points. Southern Districts up to 4 points. That's a big thing, but at the top of the standings, it's looking like a real battle.
Yeah, you've got those teams again at the top, which we've said, I mean, Kensington are probably a little bit of a surprise to me. Not to you, but they certainly are to me. with that. With being undefeated at the moment, they played some good teams too. It's not like they played some of the guys down the bottom. They've beaten some pretty good sides. Hanley and Goodwood starting to win. Golden Grove again with AJ throwing well. Sturt, well, they couldn't stay at O for long, could they?
They did scrape one out on the weekend.
They did. They got up 5-4 against Glenelg, so that was another close one. They're a good enough side. They're doing enough just to get across the line, right?
Jordan McArdle said that last year, that they weren't playing great at the start of the year, but they were doing enough to win games, and that's kind of feeling the same now.
Yep, and that's what good teams do. They just work out a way how to get across the line. They don't have to beat teams 20-5. They can. If you win 5-4, you still get the points, so it doesn't matter how you do it.
You can see the significance of that forfeit right there in that graphic a minute ago. The Southern District's going from 2-4, and East Torrance dropping from 6-4. It tightens everything up, and it's absolutely so early on. Crazy. Yep. On the women's side of things, a few key standout performance, and I think we have to give a shout-out to. Okay, first off, I know this girl from when she was like 7 or 8 years old as a member coming out to all the Adelaide Bike games, just loving watching guys like Maddie Williams throw on the mound, some of their idols. Georgia Davis, for the undefeated Sturt at the top of the standings, had an unbelievable game on the weekend, and she is actually the leader pretty much across the board in all the pitching stats. Here are her numbers. You'll get a look on the side. Take a look at this, Dunny. 12 innings, 14 strikeouts, 1.5 ERA, and no walks.
That's not too bad, is it? That's good. A good start to the year.
15.
She's 15 years old?
She's 15 years old.
Wow.
She was pitching Division 2 last year. She's got the bump up to Division 1 this year. But this is what I'm loving to see with the development of women's baseball, right?
Yeah, it's fantastic, and she's doing a fantastic job for Sturt. And, Sturt have got a good enough side as it is without having someone with numbers like that.
Now they have another pitcher.
They'll be tough to beat with those sort of numbers.
So she's number one in all the pitching stats. She's got a couple hits on the year, too. But a tie between Glenelg and Souths on the weekend. You don't see a lot of ties.
No.
And now, but if Glenelg is tying teams, I know they've lost a game earlier, and Souths, the league's just close right now. Those top 4 teams especially are getting tight.
Yeah, and I think it'll be like that all year. Southern District's got a good side as well, and Glenelg, they've got a good side and will turn it around at some stage as well. So those top 4 will again be right in the race at the end of the year, and it's just a matter of who plays well at the right time of the season.
And I think all the top 4 play each other this weekend, which will be interesting. All right, Dunny, we're gonna go in a moment here to Glenn Williams. I had a really interesting chat with them. If you could ask any question to Glenn Williams, what would it be?
Excuse me, Mr. Williams, what happened with the ABL?
Well, I asked that and a few more questions going on. We've got a 2-part interview coming up for you. We're going to play the first part of the interview. We'll get to the second part later on. Jordan McArdle coming up after the break. So you're watching In the Bullpen, brought to you by Hilltop Office Supplies. Glenn Williams on the other side after this.
Hilltop Office Supplies are here to provide you with all your stationery, sanitary products and office equipment. We are a local business servicing local communities with the ability to offer you and your business the best prices. We offer a large range of office supplies from pens, ink cartridges and toner to monitors, keyboards and laptops. If you can't see it on our website or in our catalogue, ask us and we'll source it for you. We have a partnership with Kaishira Document Solutions where you will find many leasing options available for these state-of-the-art units and plenty to choose from whether you have 5 or 5,000 employees. We offer businesses a one-stop shop for all cleaning, kitchen and bathroom needs. Check out our website at www.hilltopofficesupplies.com.au. Register your business to stay on top of the latest sales and receive member specials. We are baseball people here to support the baseball community.
And we're back on In the Bullpen, and we've changed format a little bit here. You've gone from looking at the beautiful Michael Dunn over to my left to just me and another good-looking guy over here. It's the CEO of Baseball Australia, Glenn Williams. Willow, it's been a bit of an interesting last few weeks for you, I imagine.
Yeah, it's been a challenging probably month to 6 weeks, to be honest, and then obviously culminating in making a decision around the ABL for this season. It's been quite a challenging time for myself, for Baseball Australia staff, for ABL teams, baseball fans, and everyone involved. So it's been been quite challenging, to be honest. But it's just plugging away.
Well, mate, I really appreciate you jumping on the show just to talk to us. But I would be a bit remiss if I just didn't ask a simple question here. Why was the ABL canceled for this season?
Yeah, look, we obviously we were after the 2021 season, with the interruptions and an adjusted format, the challenges in terms of COVID-19, and everything that presented the league and teams last year was quite challenging. So from the outset, we're looking at planning with more stability and certainty around the league this year. And obviously with the outbreaks on the East Coast, of Australia and the subsequent decision to shift the season back a month, looking at ways to be able to work through a season and, be able to provide, the home content that teams, need and the league needs to be viable, and balance up a hard deadline to be able to finish the season in the first week of February, and, uncertainty around borders and, uncertainty around moving teams around the country, and, providing that, kind of certainty and surety that teams will be able to play the home content that they need to be able to, be viable, and for the league to be viable. Obviously it was a difficult decision to be able to make, but, making it in, what we thought were the best interests of the long-term, sustainability of the Australian Baseball League.
So what was that decision-making process? What did that look like, I guess, it's hard to say a start to finish in a COVID world, but what did it, a gist of what that looked like?
Yeah, so obviously, with the first, I guess, portion of challenge in terms of getting a schedule going was, 2 international teams in Auckland and Geelong, Korea. The uncertainty around borders and entry into Australia and an early conservative decision, in conjunction with them to, sit out this season to, allow for more certainty of planning. We worked through the scheduling process and of having a 6-team league and 5 home series, 5 away series, for the teams, 2-week playoff format, which is, something that's a robust and exciting league that the teams want to play in and the fans want to see and everything. And, as that planning process went through with the scheduling, and as we always do, balancing it up with, different events that are being hosted in different, towns to make sure that we're giving fans a chance to be able to see games and teams to be successful. The outbreaks on the East Coast started to happen. And, as we were releasing the schedule, there was probably less and less certainty around our ability to be able to deliver on a schedule that was starting on November the 18th. And so making the decision to be able to shift it back, working with a lot of different sports on, what they were looking to do to try and, adjust their schedule and their formats to try and get games on, and make sure that teams could travel around the country or travel to different areas successfully. And so we continue to work through that, continue to work through government advice, continue to look at when borders may or may not be opening. And, there's some states have been quite clear in terms of what's going to be happening, and then others that haven't. So, still we're the time of making that decision, balancing up the risk of not being able to, provide home content for teams. And obviously looking to make a decision on the league was quite challenging. So, talking to different teams and the like on that. And, unfortunately, not being able to make it work to where we can provide that home content for teams.
You made you said this word a couple times, especially at the start of that response, and that word was certainty. And I feel like that probably is being, I guess, understated a little bit. Like, certainty obviously has to be something really important to all these ABL teams, given it's not, a top tier sport like your footies.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously for the teams, but also for the league, and right. We're all, it's that weird COVID saying we're all in it together type thing. And, everyone's got different constraints and different parameters that they're working to. Everyone has, different things that affect their businesses differently. And we're the same, so, from our perspective to look at, whether or not we could move one group of players into a state and be certain that they'd be able to get there and be able to, play in those games and then get home if something, happened. And that, that was a drama, last season for the league. There were teams that were stuck on road trips and, stuck into quarantine and, have to be, shifted in and around. And, for us, it's, and that's right. And so for the sustainability and viability of the league, like from the outset, we were looking at more stability and more certainty around planning and the like. And, a lot of planning goes into it from a league's perspective, from a team's perspective, and there's significant investment that follows in that planning. And, when you can't kind of guarantee or give certainty that, the end product will be able to be delivered to fans and delivered for sponsors and the like, then it creates a significant amount of risk for teams and the league. And, we love the ABL. We know that the baseball fans are hurting. We know that the teams are hurting. We're hurting. I'm a baseball guy myself. I've lived the game my entire life. So it's something that, definitely doesn't sit really well with me. But it was a decision made, the long-term interest of the league. And we know that, there's going to be baseball fans missing out on seeing it this year, but we made that decision, hoping that, in 10 years' time, 15 years' time, those kids that love to come out and watch the ABL will actually be playing in it, as opposed to trying to continually push through in an uncertain time with COVID-19 and running the risk of not having a league at all.
That's one of the words that was used right in regards to the future, right at the beginning of that statement from Baseball Australia, which was, it will be a bigger and better ABL in 22 and 23. What does that mean?
So look, we obviously disappointed that we couldn't get this season going. We've been working with teams on what the future can look like and how we can improve things moving forward. And again, trying to plan this season with some certainty was always going to be challenging. So it was always about what can we do to be able to get through this season and make sure that we're building to be bigger and better for next year. So obviously Auckland and Geelong Korea are chomping at the bit to be able to come back. In 19 and 20, both of those teams were, much improved and, they drew really well. Their broadcast was amazing. Plans on an all-star game reboot and series are well advanced, in a location that we're working with at the moment. The opportunity to be able to have teams recruit with more certainty with their MLB clubs and know that those players can come into Australia, they can get off the plane, they can go to their apartments and then they can, go out to practice right away, and you don't have that constraint of having to go into, hotel quarantine. The advancement of some of the Australian stars, guys like Curtis Mead, Aaron Whitefield, Rickson Wingrove, all of these young guys who are in the US who are just continually getting better, and the opportunity for them to be able to come back and play in the league. So there's a lot of exciting things, for us to be able to plan for. And then, as we keep talking about, and I'll keep saying it and sound like a broken record, but being able to plan with more certainty, really allow us to do it. And as difficult as it is that we won't be playing, it probably provides a unique opportunity for us to really collaborate and get together and work on making sure that next season is bigger and better.
It's such an interesting journey the ABL has kind of been on, isn't it? Like the last, starting from when MLB started it 11 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever it was now, to even the 2 years before COVID where you had New Zealand and you had Korea join what was the Australian Baseball League. And I know it's still called the Australian Baseball League, but it's really kind of become this big international community from players all over the world playing some better competition than I think what most people really do realize around the world.
Yeah, definitely. It's and that's the unique part about the Australian Baseball League. The Southern Hemisphere summer provides that unique opportunity for us to be able to attract players from all around the world and put stars on the field to be able to compete against our local stars. So guys who, are working regular day jobs who are out there mixing it with these guys are the same guys that get on a plane and go and play for Team Australia and beat Team USA in the Premier 12 and, compete on the world stage as well. So it's a really unique league. And, I think that there's significant interest in the league. And when, baseball's such a global sport, and we're, kind of sitting here in our little corner of the world, there's that saying we punch well above our weight, on a multiple things from national team level, but also too from a league's perspective. So actually having the stars that come down and play in our league is something that's really unique, and it provides attraction for people to actually watch it around the world.
Looking for the finest in household items to complement and complete your dream look? Just the Thing Furniture Warehouse pride themselves on the best customer service, communication, and quality furniture.
We try and offer our customers is the opportunity to buy on-trend furniture at a discounted price.
Go see Super League Baseball sponsor Just the Thing Furniture for their wide range of quality furniture to find the perfect item that will complete your home and suit your budget. Mention Super League Baseball for free metro delivery. Just the Thing Furniture, open 7 days a week.
Welcome back to In the Bullpen. Jordan McArdle has stopped by for a quick chat, brought to you by Hilltop Office Supplies. Just Think Furniture Warehouse, though, big sponsor of the show, helping, get stuff sorted.
Yeah, we might be hearing some rumours. There's some players maybe want to get some stuff, so go down there and mention the Super League, and Jace will look after you and give you free delivery.
Jordy, thanks so much for joining us, but especially before you got a game to play here. We just heard from Glenn Williams talking about cancellation of the ABL season and all the COVID circumstances around that. We've talked about it on the broadcast before, but what can you walk us through your COVID story, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, well, obviously the ABL just getting cancelled. But yeah, first of all, when the first COVID-19 started, I just signed with the Phillies. So I was lucky enough to go over there, and I thought, I was in I felt like career best form, and hitting the ball really well. But then, yeah, we stayed in a hotel for 2 weeks to do our quarantine, Jason, Lott and I, and then we finally got out to go into the hotel and to the facility, and they said, yeah, sorry, we're sending you home. So we just assumed we would go home for a couple months, and they said, we'll see you back in here in June, July or something like that. And then we're sitting here today, and it's still affecting the world, I guess. Yeah.
2 years later.
Yeah.
2 years later.
Yeah, that hurts. And I feel for guys like you that just want to play there. So how are you trying to stay in, I guess, top shape at an elite level baseball when there's not that elite level competition to play in?
Yeah, well, it hurts that there's no games this year, but it's good that the Giants are trying to get something going, and we can try and get a couple games in the new year, which would be great. And hopefully I can just do what I can, play well in those games, and maybe get back to America in indie ball or something like that, which would be, I think, is the next step. And if I play well there, then you never know, really.
And have you spoken at all to Tank or Chris Adamson, as people who doesn't know who Tank is, our head coach of the Adelaide Giants? Have you shout out to him? I'm sure he's watching over there in Sydney with I'd say a beer in his hand at this time of the day. But so have you spoken to him much at all in regards to when he gets back, you go back into a pretty much as if you're going to play an ABL season to keep in shape and go through the same processes and get better at playing in the outfield and doing all the stuff that you'd normally do if you were playing ABL?
Yeah, well, I haven't as much yet, just because I'm just letting him just get back into Australia kind of thing. But yeah, Rix and Wingrove will also be back here in the next couple of weeks. So we'll work out a lifting program together, and we'll work out where we can hit and do some stuff with Tank. So he's always great, and he's been helping me since I was 14, 15 years old. So I owe a lot to that man. And yeah, well, hopefully I hope we can get some sort of games and see what happens.
What's been the chat among the player group?
I'd say upset, but nothing we can do about it. And there's still a few guys that are here playing club ball now, so I think it's making the league a lot stronger. And look, we'll just get together and see what we can do.
Jordy, really appreciate you taking the time to stop by. We're going to throw it right back to part 2 of our interview with Glenn Williams. And then don't forget, though, Super League game featuring Jordan McArdle, hit a grand slam last week, not a big deal, coming up after the show. So back to Glenn Williams.
Baseball Australia, I feel like it does take on a lot, right? Like you run baseball in the country as a whole. Obviously, the ABL's part of there too. I guess what's the big priority right now for Baseball Australia, especially coming out of this pandemic or in the pandemic? I don't know where we're at with the pandemic, just in this era.
Yeah, it's look, it's been a challenging period for everyone. Obviously, we look at it from a professional league perspective, ABL perspective. It's been really challenging. But you think back to, clubs and associations and local grassroots baseball, they've suffered as well. There's people that, have been in Victoria that have been in lockdown for, 200 odd days, which affects community sport. So not only is it Baseball Australia who's trying to work through this thing, we've got state associations who are trying to do it. And then there's associations and clubs who are run by volunteers trying to figure out what they can and can't do. In getting kids on the field, in getting coaches out there and giving umpires a chance to play, in giving people a chance to be able to play baseball. So it's been really, really challenging. So a big priority for us is obviously, working closely with state associations, working with clubs and associations. We're doing a Baseball in Australia project at the moment, which is a big stakeholder engagement project to try and, work out what we can do to be able to improve sport, how we can help support grassroots and increase participation of our sport. And, for me, participation, is how much kids are playing in games or how much they're actually participating within games, how people can be involved in baseball and get in and around it. So it's been a major challenge for everyone in COVID, and we just want to see baseball out there on the field again.
That's kind of interesting. I think we're really get caught up in our own backyard. And I think everybody's guilty of that wherever they are, right? But in South Australia, I think combined we had 10 days of lockdown in this entire pandemic, 10 days only. And one of them came as 3 days where we missed one round of baseball last November. But the baseball season, other than the finals at the end of 2020, the last 2 years, there's been no changes for us in South Australia. People have had their club games, their juniors, whatever. They've been able to run it pretty much normal. So our audience here, given they're mostly from South Australia, what's it like for baseball the last couple years in a place like maybe Victoria or New South Wales that hasn't had that, as we've said, certainty of what's going on?
Yeah, look, New South Wales has been quite challenging. I'm Sydney based, and we were in lockdown for 4 months. So again, I'm not going to start playing the violin about, complaining, about being at home for 4 months and everything. A lot of people had it a lot worse than me, but the effect is that, local leagues can't plan. I know Baseball Canberra have had to shift their summer season back to start in January because of the uncertainty of what's happening. And then, the effect of, in Victoria as an example, and the prime example is that everything was heading back in the right direction. The Little League National Championships is about to go off. There was 2 Victorian teams who were about to travel north to Lismore, and we were waiting on what Dan Andrews was going to deliver in terms of what the lockdown would be for community support, whether allowed out of the state or not. And then the flow-on effects would be, if they were allowed out of the state, what effect that would have on, say, a team from Western Australia, where the rules say that if you've knowingly come into contact with someone from a high-risk state, then that might have, problems for you re-entering. And we're talking about kids playing Little League. So kids love playing the game. We've got volunteers and EOs and coaches and all these people that are coordinating opportunities for them to play, and then the lockdown hits. And one of the most difficult things is the Premier says that you can't leave the state or you can't do this. And that means that 2 teams worth of 12-year-olds can't go to the Little League National Championships that they've been dreaming of doing.
How do you tell a 12-year-old that?
Well, and look, it's a difficult thing, and I know that the CEO and president of Baseball Victoria had to deliver those news. Like we had to deliver the news to the Australian national team that with a change of venue from Taiwan to Mexico, within 3 weeks of an event for the final Olympic qualifier, that we simply couldn't take the risk of doing it. So we're talking about guys who've played baseball their whole life who are trying to compete and qualify for Olympic Games. So there's been tremendous challenges in and around the COVID-19 pandemic, on baseball, regardless of what it is. And it's still going, but hopefully we can get through this period and, we can look to try and, get baseball going again and provide opportunities for people to play.
So how do those national events kind of shape up, I guess, over the next because that's crazy, right? That 12-year-old 2 years ago that couldn't go and play in the Little League is now 14 and is out of Little League into Junior League, and there's still no certainty that things are things are happening. So how do you go about planning these national events for the next whatever amount of time?
Yeah, so national events, for us, so obviously the Australian Youth Championships was, postponed this year. So there's an 18 under World Cup that's taking place in September. Again, we're talking about athletes who are missing out. There's athletes who are 15, 16, 17, 18, kind of in their prime of development, who are seeking college opportunities and the like, that we've been working with in Performance Pathways, who haven't had a chance to be able to go play. But we're trying to adjust. State associations have been, amazing in adapting and adjusting, so they're replacing some of those events with local events that will branch into a junior national team selection camp in April, as an example. Looking at maybe the 16 and under or under 16 national championships later in the year. And then a lot of the Little League national events will be pushed back, into later in the year. So, obviously there's still a lot of uncertainty in the immediate term, but if we look at it from kind of the medium term, we can hope that the world will open up again. There'll be opportunities to put, national teams on the plane again, that, players who compete through and win a national championship at a Little League event will get a chance to go to Williamsport and the respective, Little League World Series events around the world, and that will have a little bit of normality. So there's still not a lot of certainty. So we've just got to plan, and hopefully we can plan and execute, as opposed to plan and adjust and continually be on the hop.
So I'm kind of curious now about something, Willow, because the vacancy for CEO of Baseball Australia came March, April last year or so? When did you start?
I started in April
In
this
April,
year,
right.
so yes.
So April, it was like just over 12 months on from the start of the pandemic, I guess. The ABL season had just gone through where teams were in snap lockdowns, caught up all over the place. Like we were just talking about the championships for local juniors, even seniors, national team in Taiwan. There's just been COVID outbreaks there to go play in that qualifying tournament. The height of the pandemic, a bunch of uncertainty going all over the place. Teams haven't played proper baseball. Affected, just all this crazy stuff is happening. So why did you put your hand up and be like, yep, I'm gonna be the CEO of this third tier sport? I mean, I love it. Like, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Like, I'm here involved in it too, but why did you put your hand up to say, yep, let's do this?
Well, look, I've grown up around the game. My dad played and it's all I've wanted to do my whole life. So very fortunate to have played for the national team, played in the States for a little while, and then be involved in it since. So, I've got an affinity with the national team. I love playing for Team Australia. I loved coaching Team Australia and I love being involved in it. But, the game's provided me so many opportunities and I love being involved in it. And I'm really keen to be able to work with everyone to be able to help grow the game. And I recognize that we can't do it on our own, and it takes a group of people to be able to grow a game and, provide those amazing opportunities. So it's really keen to be able to do that. And, coming in April, obviously I helped and I lived through a little bit of the ABL COVID-19 stuff last year and, was working in a part-time, capacity trying to, anticipate what was going to happen with borders and the like and helping with some of those last minute changes. So was hoping to be able to come into the role in April and, go, all right, well, we're through the worst of it and away we go. And it seems like, for the last 6 months, there's been continuous challenges in and around it. So obviously not the run I was looking for coming into the role, but one that, I didn't sign up for, but one that I'm trying to do my best in and continue to put one foot in front of the other and work through it and hopefully over time we can get back on track. But there's a lot of exciting projects going on in like the work in baseball in Australia. We keep mentioning it, but we're looking at a co-design of participation and engagement plan with our SSO stakeholders and how we can increase participation, how we can support grassroots sport and clubs and, really provide amazing experiences for everyone and how we can get more opportunities for kids to go and play college baseball or in the US. There's as much as there's some bad news stories, there's a lot of people working on it, but there was 30 kids throughout the COVID-19 pandemic who've had involvement in state programs and national programs and the like who've gotten recruited into college programs in the US. So it's almost like in this time where you can't get off and go there, we're adjusting and trying to be agile and giving kids an opportunity to go and play. Kids are signing professional contracts still. So there's a lot of kind of little good nuggets there. And when, the world opens up again, hopefully we can start to take advantage of that and really grow.
Well, Willow, we're running out of time on the show here, but I just wanted to end. We started off with a difficult question asking why the ABL was canceled, but let's end it on a positive note here. What excites you the most about baseball in Australia?
I think that there's the global element of the game and us being able to kind of tap into a global sport is incredible. But the thing that excites me the most about the game, and at times it kind of, and we've seen it over the last, few weeks or a month, the passion of the people that play the game is huge. And, sometimes it like falls over and, things get said and everything, but the passion of the people involved is what excites me the most. And the challenge will be trying to harness that passion and having people working, in the same direction. But I think that if we can do that, we can really make an impact. So we're a global sport. We're a small sport here in Australia, but we're a global sport, and I think there's plenty of opportunity for us to tap into that, regardless of what level of baseball you play and where you play, and people love it. So really keen to be able to work with people and grow the game.
Glenn Williams, CEO of Baseball Australia, thank you so much for joining us on In the Bullpen, and we'll be back after the break.
Hilltop Office Supplies are here to provide you with all your stationery, sanitary products and office equipment. We are a local business servicing local communities with the ability to offer you and your business the best prices. We offer a large range of office supplies from pens, ink cartridges and toner to monitors, keyboards and laptops. If you can't see it on our website or in our catalogue, ask us and we'll source it for you. We have a partnership with Kaishira Document Solutions where you will find many leasing options available for these state-of-the-art units and plenty to choose from whether you have 5 or 5,000 employees. We offer businesses a one-stop shop for all cleaning, kitchen and bathroom needs. Check out our website at www.hilltopofficesupplies.com.au. Register your business to stay on top of the latest sales and receive member specials. We are baseball people here to support the baseball community.
Big shout out to Glenn Williams for joining the show. That was a lot of answers he gave, but that's really good of him to stop in and answer some questions that I'm sure weren't easy to answer.
And that's what the people wanted to hear, though. So they got the answers now. Everything should be cleared up of where everything seems to be going and what happened and et cetera, et cetera. So he had a platform to have his say and tell us what was going on, and he did a fantastic job.
Back inside the, what are we calling this? The commentary booth, the official desk?
Yeah.
Hilltop Office
something like
Supplies
that.
desk?
In the
I don't know.
bullpen.
In the bullpen.
In the
Back inside
bullpen.
the bullpen. It's the show title. My goodness. It's my favorite part of the show. It's the community. We get to highlight what's going on around the community. So let's just rip right into it.
Sure.
Charlie Scollier, 100 games. Big young lad there. Smiling boy. 100 games for Henley and Grange. Getting a lot under his belt. Good to see you on Charlie. Now, the next one here, admittedly, I'm going to give a plug to myself here because you know what today is?
This is 7 years of you being
Look
in
at this
the
photo.
country.
That's from me in my first year, a couple months after I got here with Sam Finn and Matty Parsons working at one of the Giants or the Bite games back in the day. Look how baby-faced I look, as baby-faced Sam Finn looks.
Wow.
7 years today, I arrived in the country. Now, I told you I'd tell you a story about my weird connection to South Australia.
Go.
So, when I was 8 years old, I went to my first ever Major League Baseball game, Toronto Blue Jays versus the Detroit Tigers. Watched the game. I ended up getting an autographed baseball from the winning pitcher of the Toronto Blue Jays in that game. Signed ball, still have the ball. I should have got a photo sent in for it. Maybe for next week we'll get it sent in for my dad or something. Mm-hmm. Got that signed autograph. First day in South Australia. Literally first day I got off the plane and I was doing ground announcing at a game, an All-Star game at Norwood Oval on that day on November 3rd versus the All-Stars. Mark Chandler greets me, chuckles, and he says, we got a ceremonial first pitch. Here's the details of the person. You just need to announce it when he comes out here and hear who it is. And I was starstruck because you know who the first pitcher was?
I got a feeling it was a person's autograph on that baseball.
Luke Prokopek.
Get out.
Yeah, dead serious.
Procco
was the first, I told Procco this too, the first ever pitcher I saw, Major League pitcher, was Luke Prokopek. And there he was, throwing out the first pitch on my first day in South Australia.
Wow,
made it home.
that's
and now I'm
hilarious.
Aussie Eric.
That's
so it's pretty cool. So
fantastic.
7 years. I thought I'd give myself a
And
shout out.
the Procco.
Yeah, I thought that's a cool story.
That's a fantastic story.
But enough about me. We can talk about me all day. You just become my friend. I'll do it.
Eric can talk about Eric all day.
Yeah, it's true.
Let's just say that.
Hamish Batchelor, 100 junior games. I feel like I've seen the Batchelor, name pop up all the time. That's pretty cool. Hamish Batchelor, 100 junior games. Harrison Mansell, also another Giants member, I think, Harrison Mansell, 50 games. Also at Adelaide Angels, they're pumping out all of the milestones because Josh Frick, 300 senior games.
Yeah, Fricky's been around a long time. That's a lot of games, 300 to play.
That's like almost over a decade of games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Senior games. That's cool for Josh Frick. And Taj Kite rounding out our, milestones, 200 games over at Henley and Grange. So a big shout out to all those milestone winners, including
Fantastic.
me.
Including you. You're almost at the top of the list, Eric.
Some cool moments, though. Baseball SA got nominated, or people in the community got nominated for some SA Sports Awards. Shout out first to Leanne Smith for the Volunteer of the Award. She does a bunch over at the Adelaide Angels.
Yep, she does a fantastic job out there, and Adelaide are heading in the right direction, so that's great, and great for her and great for her club.
We've got this young buck on the show. Is it next week or the week after? Coming up in a couple weeks. Riley Yateman, who's over in America right now, gets nominated for the Emerging Athlete of the Year award. He got signed by the Padres, and Super League helped launch him.
Yeah, and he's been over with the Padres for the last month or so he'll be finding out exactly what needs to be done to get a spot and stay over there. So he'll come back fit and ready to play Super League, club ball, and hopefully some ABL games as well.
Rowena Travaskis, Administrator of the Year, rounds out our shout-outs for, she does a great job in the office, thanks to all things Rowie does. And a big shout-out to Women's Division 2 and 3. Here's a look at Kensington. Great photo there. Women's Division 2 and 3 got started over the weekend. Full competition, lots of teams in all grades. Great to see that game growing.
It's magnificent.
All right, we've gone overboard in this show today. Thanks, Willow. That's your fault. We'll blame you.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd read out a couple bloopers that were sent in to me because these are epic. Are you ready?
Go.
Okay, we'll start with the Adelaide Angels. This was sent in to us from the Angels, by the way. The mighty Adelaide Angels Division Gr8 team, known as the Eights for Mates and themselves as Beers Before Brekkie, due to the early start time, that's what they know themselves, had a ripper for round 4. And when they say ripper, they mean a ripper, literally. Because not only did they get back on their winning streak, currently, now they've won 3 from 4, they lost 4 players in the game because of ripped hamstrings.
Wow.
One player ripped both his drivers running to first. The king of bloopers went to the day to team clown Richard Williams, who after catching the first batter out in an innings on a line drive to third base, he wildly threw the ball to first base for the double play, and he tore his hamstring. He was one of the hamstrung Angels during this game.
They might need to talk to their physio down there, and their soft tissue injuries are not going real well.
Richard backed it up, though. He's a volunteer umpire the next day.
Ooh. In a chair?
I don't know. But now this one, though, this is my favorite one. This was sent in from a gentleman who plays on the Goodwood Division Gr8 baseball team.
Now, for viewers at home, you need to follow this because it's quite
There's a
hard
lot
to
going
follow,
on.
but it's very, very funny.
Let's try to paint a picture here. So the pitcher strikes the guy out, which he notes is rare. So congratulations on getting the strikeout. That's cool. The catcher drops it. We're following that along. It's a drop third strike, so the batter runs to first. The catcher picks up the ball, and he throws it to first base. Simple play.
Simple.
First base misses it.
Not so simple.
Not so simple. Batter runs to second on the throwing error on the drop. So the batter was out. It was a strikeout.
Yep.
Drop third strike. Batter's now on second base.
Yep.
First then picks up the ball, and he throws it to second, but the second baseman also misses it, and it goes out to left field. The batter thinks about going, but he doesn't. He holds. Anyways, left fielder picks up the ball because it squirted out there, and he throws it back to the pitcher and throws it over the pitcher's head. At this point, the guy on second base, the runner off the drop third strike, runs from second to third, and it's rolling back to the catcher, but the catcher is ticked off, so he misses it, and with the ball coming back to him, and the whole team's yelling, "Wake up, wake up!" So the batter goes for third base, and he gets to third base. So now the catcher takes the ball, throws to third, and it's become a rundown.
Right.
Third base throws it to shortstop, who then panics because he's got a batter charging right at him. And he misses the ball, so it rolls to second base, and the batter turns to go back to try to round third, but now is exhausted, so he falls completely over, and they walk over and tag him out.
He needs a beer.
Is that... That's how it was scored on screen. That was the wildest out I've ever heard in my life.
So there's 2 things there. One, they need to put up a tent for the circus that was running around out there. And 2, they probably need to have a defib out there somewhere because Division 8, someone might need that after all that.
Holy
effort.
cow. I just love the look of panic and the tag. So great baseball stories. I love having a laugh at those. Everyone was happy to share it. So thank you very much for sharing those. And please send those bloopers into us, events@baseballsa.org.au.
Keep sending them in. And if you've got any videos as well, send in some videos. It doesn't have to be about club games. It can be about any sport that you see a funny blooper that you think that we'll find amusing or the people at home will find amusing. Send them in, and we will certainly do our best to play them on the show.
Big show today. We went way overboard.
We did, but it was all worth it. We needed to do that.
We had to get those bloopers in.
Absolutely.
The start of the show. Dunny, thanks so much for joining me
Thank
once
you.
again. Brought to you by Hilltop Office Supplies. Don't forget Super League coming up next. Big thanks to Glenn Williams, Jordan McArdle for joining the show. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.